So, Wales named their team to face Georgia knowing that only a point will clinch the top spot of Group C, which is a situation not many Wales fans, myself included, would have predicted going into this World Cup. A win or a losing bonus point sets them up for a quarter-final meeting with either Argentina or Japan. But for now, let us focus on the task in hand, and that is Georgia. Georgia are currently 4th in Pool C, and overall the team who beat Wales in the Principality a year ago will feel this year's World Cup has been a bit of a disappointment. But can they produce some magic and pull out another great performance against us? Let's have a look at Warren Gatland's team selection and see what we think. So as we look at the team, it's what most of us expected. Maybe one or two players. So first let's look at the forwards. In the pack, he's gone with 3 changes from the team that walloped Australia. So the front row will be Gareth Thomas, Dewi Lake comes in, and Thomas Francis. Then he's gone with Will Rowlands and Dav Jenkins. Then the back row is Wainwright, Tommy Rafell and Toby Faletau. So it's good to see Lake coming in, getting another opportunity. I still think even if he has a stormer, I think that we will still see Elias starting in the quarterfinals, which is crazy to think that Elias has managed to nail down his spot when he was a little bit on the periphery, I would have thought, going into this World Cup. I still think this is an opportunity though for Lake to nail down the bench, because I think he could make a real big impact coming off the bench. I think the most vital thing for him in this game is going to be his set piece. We know what he can do in the loose and stuff like that. If he can prove that his set piece is reliable in this game, I think he'll probably find himself on the bench for the quarters. In the second row, we see Adam Beard go out, Dav Jenkins come in. No real surprise, Adam Beard actually went back for the birth of his, I think it was his 3rd child after the Australia game, so he hasn't been at camp fully training this week. I think he joined late, so giving him a rest as well. He's played majority of the minutes. I would have really have preferred to see Rowlands rested, just because I think he's just vital to this team, but not mad to see Rowlands and Dav Jenkins get some minutes together. And I think maybe if we get to half time, 50-60 minutes, and we're comfortable, get Rowlands out of there and get him wrapped in some cotton wool. Then we see Jack Morgan getting left out of the matchday squad, Rafell coming in for him, but there's still a really strong back row with Wainwright and Faletau. Thought potentially we could see Faletau being rested, but yeah, just keeping him getting him match fit. I suppose we've had a week off, so he's had time to rest and recuperate, so maybe just continuing him to build him up the minutes. But again, he's another one I would like to see get the shepherd's hook quite early if we're doing alright, get Basham on and give Basham some minutes as well, and again, protect Faletau at all costs. But that's the pack, pretty strong pack, really happy with it. I think that's more than strong enough to compete and hopefully dominate Georgia, whose pack actually hasn't been their strengths in this World Cup, which is what you would usually say they are, but it's their backs, the ones that are real dangerous. But let's move on to our backs, and coming in for Gareth Davis is Thomas Williams. They were managing Gareth Davis's load this week, but I'm not surprised because a lot was made of this only 2 scrum halves, so I think just managing his load, he's played a lot of minutes, giving him some rest. I think that's nothing to worry about. Anscombe obviously stays in at 10, comes in for Biggar, but no surprise to see Biggar nowhere near the matchday squad, although I think he's probably going to be fit to the quarters, so it'll be interesting to see how Anscombe goes in this one and whether there's some sort of debate on who's going to start 10, because at the moment I'm not sure, but Anscombe played so well in the last game that I don't know, I would potentially want to keep him in. I've read a few things online that a lot of people are saying just stick with Anscombe, and I can totally understand why people are saying that. And then the centres are exactly the same, so we've got Tompkins and North. Again, this is good to keep the continuity. They're clearly building up a good partnership, starting to really read each other. Tompkins has been putting North into quite a lot of space, so everyone who's familiar with the channel knows that I've been really critical of Tompkins, but he would definitely be starting on my team if it was up to me now. He's been actually really good for for us this World Cup. So keeping the continuity with those guys is important. And then in the back three, we've got Liam Williams, Rio Dyer coming in, but I thought he would be coming in for Zammit, but he's actually come in for Josh Adams, and Zammit is on the other wing, which I was quite surprised at, because you saw Zammit going off with the lower leg injury. Those are never good for like a speedster, whether it's their calf or like an ankle strain or something. He's obviously, that's something he struggled with in the past in his early career as well. So I was expecting to see him rested, keep Adams in and bring Dyer in, but he's obviously fit, Zammit, otherwise he wouldn't be on the pitch. And maybe they're hoping that he can potentially maybe get a couple of tries in this game and keep building up his confidence, because we haven't really seen the best of him in this World Cup, and we haven't given him a lot of the ball. So maybe Gatland's hoping that we can dominate Georgia and get Zammit some of the ball. But yeah, that's a strong team. Maybe a couple more changes than were expected. But yeah, I think it's important to get these players who are going to be potentially involved going into the later stages of the quarterfinals, coming off the bench and stuff, some minutes, get the minutes in their legs and keep them sharp. But it's probably the bench where we see the biggest change in player personnel. So the front row is D, Smith and Henry Thomas. No surprise really to see D and Thomas there. Nicky Smith is sort of been a little bit of a character who's been on the outside somewhat, and he's famous. He's favoured Domachowski. I think he really likes Domachowski. He obviously sees something in him. But yeah, Nicky Smith's got an opportunity off the bench in this game. And then you've got Christians covering the second row, Tane Basham covering the back row. Gareth Davis makes the bench, even though, like I said, they were managing his load. That might probably be more out of necessity than actually wanting him on there. And then you've got Costello covering 10 and Grady covering the backs. So overall, it's a really good squad. It's got a good balance. It's probably, near enough, say 80-90% the first choice team, so that's good. We'll keep some continuity. Touch wood, I don't want to curse us, but I'm touching the wood that there'll be no injuries and we get through this game, get some momentum. I would love it if we go out and absolutely tank Georgia early doors and then get the subs on, rest the key players and look ahead to the quarters. But generally, I don't see really anyone who's getting an opportunity in this game will be challenging to start against, whether it's Argentina or Japan in the quarters. I think it's just about resting some players, getting minutes in players who are going to be on the bench. But I just can't see anyone putting up that massive of a performance against Georgia that forces Gatland to start them in the next game. I think we've got a pretty settled team. And why change something that's been working so well? So yeah, the only player would be Anscombe and Bigger, and I don't really know how that's going to look. And I think that could depend on Bigger's fitness. If Anscombe just doesn't have a particularly good game, a mediocre game in this one, I think that could give Bigger the nod. That's probably the only place where there's a bit of like ambiguity over who's going to start. And I guess that basically starts with if Bigger's fit or not. So we'll have to wait and see. I think he's going to be fit. So I've heard a lot of people say maybe back to I think it was 2019 where Anscombe was starting and then Bigger was coming on as a closer, which is something potentially we could see. I wouldn't be mad at that, but we'll see. I don't know. What do you guys think? Please comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Let's go Wales!